Welcome everybody to another episode of Happily Ever After. I am joined with with the beautiful Carolyn Sinclair and Tineke Baum. Did I say it right? Did I do
Yeah.
it? Yay! Okay. We explore so many things in relationships, done different classes. People come in with all sorts of stories and all sorts of, history and I know that as facilitators we get to explore all of that with them. And I love that the topic for today it's just three words, sort of just three words, but it's a big one when it comes to creating relationships that actually contribute to you in your life. So ladies, when we tell our audience that the topic for today is called "Is It Yours?" What does that mean? What is it yours when it comes to relationship, Carolyn?
Well, thank you, Sarah. We all have thoughts and feelings and stuff come into our heads, regardless of when it is. We go shopping or you're with family or whatever. But in your relationships, like say with your partner, something comes into your head. A good question to ask is it mine? Is that thought of, oh, I'm really frustrated? Is it yours? Have you ever thought of asking that? Because we're psychic SpongeBobs. We pick up thoughts, feelings, and emotions from everywhere around us. Um, and if you think that's hooey, get in your car and go out into traffic. And all of a sudden, you turn into this, rah, 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 you can't do that, you're in my way, all that sort of thing. And you weren't like that 2 minutes before. So, what are you picking up? That's where I really learned it. It's just like, whoa, I have these like, get out of my way, you jerk. And I'm like, oh, it's not really mine. So that's how I learned that. Is it yours? And to put that into place in relationships can change everything.
Cool. And Tineke, can you share a little bit about how someone would start using this in relationships, or in what like scenarios or situations it could contribute?
Say it again, please. Sorry.
That's okay. Um, so Carolyn talked a little bit about what the tool is like
Yeah.
asking, is it yours, for everything that you're aware of. And so I'm curious if you can talk about how we apply that to relationships. Like, do you have any stories about a situation where you applied, is this mine, or who does it belong to, in a relationship?
In a relationship, what comes to me at the moment is that um, that there are many thoughts of other people how your relation has to be. Um, um, I'm almost for 40 years with my husband, so it's a long time, and our relationships is not like some other relationships, and I have always think about from what shall others say about my relationship. Is it good? Is it bad? It's very um, sometimes very good to um, to have the tool. Is it yours? Because I take a lot of, I'm like Carolyn said, I'm a sponge. So I take all those thoughts, feelings, and emotions from others regarding my relationship. Uh, yeah,
So you're addressing the like projections and
yeah,
expectations, like
yeah,
this world and people around you project it, what it has to look like. And if you ask, is it yours, you can actually get to what is true for you with regards
yeah,
to relationship.
yeah, yeah. That's true.
Cool. Yeah. Um, and so Carolyn, can you expand upon like how, like if somebody's never heard this tool and they're like, I want to try that in my relationship. Um, what would that look like? Like, how would they go about starting to use the tool in relationship?
Oh, great question. And I would have loved to have had this mm, 40 years ago when I first got married, decided to stay with someone. Um, yeah, I would find in my relationship that I would get so frustrated at times with my husband, and really, I'd be really angry. And, I'd have these like, oh, I'm so frustrated, blah, blah, blah. And I asked an access consciousness facilitator, I asked that question, and she said, is that yours? And I went, oh my God, no. And so throughout our years together, I would use that and I would get like, I would literally get so angry. And I'd say, okay, is that mine? And I eventually got to the place where it was his. He was angry and frustrated with himself. He couldn't talk about it. He didn't really even realize. And I would pick up on it and I would put that at him. And then I realized it wasn't mine, that it was his. And that changed everything. So think of a time when you've been frustrated or annoyed or whatever with your partner, with your child, whatever, and ask, is that mine? Or am I just picking up what they're thinking? And then you can go, okay, I can let that go now. Or, oh, okay, so what would contribute from, like, what could I say here that could contribute? Or just say, oh, I gotta go, I'll be right back, and go to the bathroom. And, like, we have all kinds of tools with access consciousness that can clear that energy, um, including the sort of partner to is it yours, the interesting point of view tool. Interesting point of view, I have that point of view. Interesting point of view, they have that point of view. And so I found that I could just like walk to the next room, go to the bathroom, as it were, and clear things. And so that is it mine really cleared a lot of stuff. And when I didn't react, because that's of course what you do when you have you're picking up on those feelings from somebody else and you react, because often that's what you do with your partner. I mean, I don't know, maybe I'm the only one who ever did that. And when you're no longer reacting, then they're going to react less because they have less to react to. Does that make sense? Yeah. When my husband was frustrated with himself or angry and was really not able to talk about it or verbalize it or understand it even, and then I dumped more on him because I was picking up on his stuff. Of course, that escalated any situation. And then when I was able to not react, to go, oh, that's not mine, to not react, then it de-escalated. Is that a word? De-escalated the situation, and it would just disappear. So I don't know if that makes that helps, but I would recommend you try it because it makes it much more enjoyable for you.
I like it very
Forget about
much. Yes. No, it's like becoming the marshmallow, like if you don't have a solidity for, like, you don't become the force that they now have to fight, things can just move with such an ease. But I know that a lot of us use so many points of view, and how, like Tineke said, like the projections, expectations of like how someone's supposed to be in relationship in regards to us, how we have to be treated. Otherwise, it means we're not treated well, like all sorts of stuff that we think we have to defend against and fight against in order to control into the perfect right outcome of this reality. So Tineke, I would love if you could chat a little bit about, because I think there's a tool, like, or one of the elements of intimacy that's kind of bouncing around here. Well, there's all of them, kind of. But do you want to talk about how getting to that space of allowance where you don't have to react, where you don't have to make things yours, and you also don't have to make it relevant or personal? What does allowance create in a relationship?
Oh, that is one topic in this time for me, because I'm here in India with my daughter, and sometimes I have to be in allowance, um, because it's also a relationship in allowance that it's not the way I did it. So I have to be in allowance to let her go her way and to make her own, um, yeah, decisions, choices, without trying to control her, because control is something I have very much in me. I want everything on my own, my way, but in allowance, I can let it go and let her do her own choices.
And a spinoff of that, back over to you, Carolyn. What have you seen allowance change, and what is allowance for you, and how would you describe that? Because you brought up interesting point of view, and that tool is amazing in any relationship. Um, but it really does bring you to that place of like having allowance for whatever point of view, or like Tineke said, whatever choice they're making. Um, so I'm wondering, like, what have you seen that shift and change, or what would you like to add about choosing allowance in relationship?
I would say allowance is everything. If you, and so, yeah, so when somebody says something or does something, anyone, somebody in the street, your partner, anyone, um, you can choose whether you align and agree with it or resist and react it. So those lock, if you align and agree with something somebody says, then you've locked it in energetically. And or if you resist and react, which is more what we normally do, you lock that in. But if you are just interesting point of view, if you are just allowance, then it just creates ease for everyone. And I would say being in allowance is possibly the most important thing in anywhere in your life, to just, people get to choose what they choose, you get to choose what you choose, and the space and energy of allowance just makes more ease for everybody. Is that too vague? And so the interesting point of view tool gets you to allowance. So, I have, I have sisters. I'm now living in a place where I'm physically close to my sisters, and they're both real worriers. And they worry about this, and they worry about that, and they worry about this. And, in the past, I would try and change that or fix it or make it better for them. And now I'm just like, oh, interesting point of view. They have that point of view. You can go worry. I'm just going to go eat my supper or something. So it makes it easy for me. And it also doesn't add any extra stuff for them. So you may not be able to change or control, but if you're in allowance, it makes it easier for you, and therefore the whole situation is easier.
Yeah. It
It sounds
sounds
too
so
easy,
simple.
but
Yeah,
don't
exactly.
try it. Don't try it.
Um, Tineke, you said like having the allowance for your daughter to make her choices. Um, do you want to talk a little bit about what tools you use? Because you said you love control and you like things your way. So when that's going on, I don't know, is your daughter an adult? I'm assuming.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So when
Yeah.
she's making choices and you have a different point of view than her, what tools are you using to make sure that that has the most space and ease?
Um, I have a tool, but it's not an access tool, but you have to count to 10 before you say something. So that's not a tool of access, but it's a nice tool to have, because if you directly react, I'm reacting, and then you don't react. So you have it's you can say it's the tool of interesting point of view, because in the time that you say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, you can say, oh, interesting point of view, interesting point of view, and then it flows away. And you can always try to say something in allowance, or to have not to control someone, but to let them see what you can do, what help you can give, to let them free. We tried always our children to let them free, and to have them their own um, uh, opinion, and uh, that's good to have. So I try not to be say that you have to do. This is controlling. This an interesting point of view is the one I do.
Carolyn,
Good, Sarah.
I know sometimes relationships can also have intense moments, where things heat up and people are saying things and tossing words back and forth. How do you use any of the tools that we've listed when, whether it's, and I know you're also in customer service for Access Consciousness, so this is where that question came from. So people will, often come at you with a slew of their points of view, intensely, like telling you how wrong you are. How do these tools contribute to having ease with those situations?
Oh, good question, and very fun question too. So the whole point, if you're in allowance, you're like a rock in the stream. And so everything coming at you, if you're in allowance, it just flows by. So if somebody's intense at you or yelling at you or anything, you just let it flow by. If you're not in allowance, it's going to be smacking into you. So the interesting point of view, the being in allowance, will let it flow by. But you can also say things that are not access speak or anything like that. Like you could say, oh, cool. Oh, isn't that interesting? Or my favorite with people is actually using an access tool, but it doesn't sound like a tool, is, oh, I wonder what else is possible. And just that being in that energy of not reacting, being in the allowance, in the interesting point of view, is it just makes everything more ease. And yeah, I'm old and I've been there, done that, and have lots of experience. So perhaps it's more obvious for me what being in allowance gives us. And don't wait until you're in your 50s to start learning these things. I mean, you could. And
I like that.
the other tool that I use all the time, all the time, all the time, and did also assist in those intense situations with my husband, is gratitude.
Mm.
So you mentioned the 5 elements of intimacy, Sarah, and that's what, yeah, and I see Tineke nodding her head, is that you can also go into gratitude in those moments. And that I loved your count to 1 to 10, or you can say interesting point of view, is that rather than responding instantly, have that space. Interesting point of view. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, whatever. so that you can change, not react, and maybe even choose gratitude.
I like it.
And I know that my husband and I would often, I say passed because he passed away a couple of years ago, um, but we would be getting into an intense discussion about something, and after we had both used the tools for a few years, it would get to the place where one of us would say, and it wasn't always me, "I'm so grateful for you," and then we would laugh, and the whole situation would be completely diffused, and we'd realize it was completely silly. So, yeah, it will
Yeah,
change things.
yeah. Most situations we find ourselves in relationship are a compilation, in my interesting point of view, a compilation of points of view that don't belong to us. So they're kind of always silly. It's like the battle of the
Yeah.
points of view. Tineke, did you want to say anything about Carolyn bringing up the tool of adding gratitude?
Yeah, what for me, I gratitude is also the respect of someone, um, what they do, and what to respect them. That's one of the a tool I learned in the almost 40 years in my marriage, that if you respect and have gratitude for your husband, then it comes okay. We are not a couple who has a lot of fights or something like that. We're not that kind. Maybe we have in the old time that we are married, and with us the 2 times we had some fights, but other not never. So it helps sometimes to be gratitude and to respect each other, each other's things, thoughts, and things they can do, to let them free
Yeah, I like it.
to do what they want, and sometimes it's not what you want, but what they want.
I like
So
that.
I'm very gratitude for him. I have very yeah.
Amazing. Is there anything else that you ladies would like to chat about before we wrap up? Is there anything pinging in your world that you want to get out there and share?
Not for me.
Okay. Carolyn, do you have anything?
I would just say that sorry, Tineke.
No, go ahead. No, I have nothing.
Thank you. I would just say, keep that little phrase. Is that mine? Who does that belong to? Is
Okay.
it mine? Like, really, it can start you on the path to realizing that a lot of the stuff that's coming up in your relationships of any kind might actually not be yours. And so
I
you
love
no
it.
longer have to react. Even with your pets.
Exactly. She's like, pick me up. No, wait, don't pick me up. I just want to be on your desk. Okay. Well, thank you, ladies. This has been an
Yeah.
amazing exploration, and I'm so grateful to have got to go on it with you. And
Thank you very much.
oh, of course, I know that there are other lives coming up. So anybody watching, like, keep your eyeballs peeled for the next one. I don't know when they are, but I'm sure they will be right here on the same channel. So thank you, everybody. Bye.
Thanks, Sarah. Thanks, Tineke.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks.